introduction. Mr. Kofi Annan, for 10 plus years, has been a leading voice of technology's transformative role in the future of business and society. He is a strategic advisor, investor, entrepreneur, and speaker. Kofi helps startups and global companies like Puma, Mercedes-Benz, and Pfeiffer to understand technology trends and grow by connecting with others. Kofi frequently inspires and brings entrepreneurs, corporates, and investors together at live events. He has presented to audiences at Harvard University, the Smithsonian Museum, the United Nations, and the SXSW Interactive Conference. Most recently, Kofi co-organized a tech/media event which brought over 10,000 business leaders together to share their creative ideas and build strategic relationships. Kofi works at the intersection of technology, media, and design. Was profiled in 2008 book Secrets of Social Media Marketing. He has been featured and quoted in Entrepreneur Magazine, The Wall Street Journal, and the LA Times, among others. Please help me welcome Mr. G. Kofi Annan.
Thank you, thank you. Just move this. Because I want to get closer, have more of a conversation than just talking, more of interaction. Give me 1 second. How's everyone doing tonight? Good? Excited? As was mentioned, I'm here to talk about branding. Most people know about branding, and I assume from an entrepreneurial group like yourself, you probably have some familiarity with branding yourself, whether working with somebody else or experience with it. But then also, specifically, branding in the digital age. How things have changed from the times of billboards and newspapers and radio, maybe even TV being the main places where you engage with content and saw commercials and were introduced to companies, to the introduction of technology, the internet, which now created a boom where now, no matter what your location is, brands are able to reach to you. So I'm going to give you a talk through that, some of my insights, working with different organizations, both large, as mentioned before, but also medium and small. I spend a lot of time working with entrepreneurs, small groups, to really realize not just their products, because most times entrepreneurs know what products they want to bring to the world, whether it's a good product or not, a bad product, that's up to the market to decide. But where I come in, I kind of sit with them and help them craft that story, create something that other people will engage with, and use the right mediums to do that. So let's jump into it. What is a brand? Definition from Wikipedia, we'll get that out of the way already. A brand is a name, term, design, symbol, or other feature that distinguishes an organization or product from its rival in the eyes of the customer. And the last part there is the key part. A lot of times, companies or entrepreneurs start a company, or a company exists, and over time, they lose sight with what the North Star is. It is really about that customer and how that customer views you as an organization and your products. So, quick test. Okay. All right. Nike, of course. Good. Wow. Good. Good. I learned that one. Quick question. You see this brand, you know the name, What is it inspired? What does it bring to your mind? Anyone say? Television. Television. Something more like how do you feel about the television? So the television is what they do. How do you news? Okay. And is it something that you're endeared to? What makes it endearing to you? If it is. If it's news, it's television, so that's a product. But as a customer, as a consumer, when you see this logo and you hear the name, what does it bring to you?
It's most so we understand it.
Okay, a lot of understanding.
And build visions that are recognizable.
Recognizable, excellent. I'm learning as well. Anyone? Oh, okay. Reaching higher. Same question. DJ. Anyone? Okay. All right. Always exactly. So as you can see, a brand could mean something good, make you feel good, but also a brand could you can have a bad experience with it. But it is still recognizable, right? Once you see that, you know exactly what it is, and you have a sense of what to expect from past experience.
Yeah.
Why did I put that up there? Why did I put her up there? We're talking about branding. Sorry. She is her own brand. Everyone knows Rihanna from a long time ago, primarily from the music. But at this point, Rihanna is a brand. Anyone know a product that she has, besides the singing and all that kind of stuff? A product?
Perfume, makeup, lingerie.
Okay, see, there you go. So the reason why I put that out there is that most times when we talk about brands and branding, we think about an organization, something that has multiple people, not something that is necessarily associated with one person. And Rihanna, as with a lot of artists, is someone who is Rihanna, as someone who started as a musician, has transformed her music, has used her music It's a brand. I'll try to speak to that. So Rihanna, obviously, you see this. What do you recognize? What do you think is coming when you see this face? When you see this, what you mentioned, the products. What is encapsulated in that? What do you know to expect? She has a beauty line. There's Maybelline, there's L'Oreal. There's a lot of beauty products. Why Rihanna and not someone else?
Because it should be representation in the highlighter.
Okay. The representation, the highlighter, you have the comfort right there. But one of the reasons why Rihanna is successful in the beauty space is certainly because she's a recognizable, artist. But the association with her as an artist is she's edgy, she's really accessible. People relate to her, a certain demographic relates to her. So she is taking that part of her brand as the from a music side and translated that into different products. So the lesson here is that brands could also be individuals. And so people, if you don't already have a product, you still should be thinking as yourself as a brand, because you can also put that onto any kind of product. So we'll talk through how that can happen. So a strong brand generates trust, loyalty, and value. Anybody recognize the one on the left? Starbucks, exactly. And you know what to expect from there, especially the price, right? But a lot of people swear by Starbucks. Starbucks is coffee. Coffee is a commodity, right? And Starbucks generally makes coffee. But people, if you put these two cups in front of them, a lot of people will gravitate towards the one on the left, even though it's more expensive. And even at its base product, Starbucks sells regular coffee as well as all the grandes and macchiatos and everything like that. But they will certainly spend more money for the same coffee in the Starbucks cup. And that's because there's value, they perceive value and trust. To do that today, you have to have a compelling identity, story, and style. The last one is a little tricky. So let's start talking about your identity, and we'll go through each one, take notes. I'll be here to answer questions later, but maybe actually let's take a poll. How many people here are beginning entrepreneurs? So 6 months less. How many people have an idea, but they haven't really brought it to life in any capacity yet? 10. How many people have a business in general? It's gonna take 4 years. Business. How many years?
I've been doing it for like 20 years,
Uh-huh.
but for the past 3 years, maybe officially.
Okay. Yes, sir.
One
Oh,
1 year.
1 year. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. And I assume, just shout it out, the rest of you are just interested in entrepreneurship? Okay. Okay. Excellent. So this is, well, I'll walk through here, we'll get you started in that direction. It's not going to help you think of a product, so you're on your own with that one. So, why does your brand exist? So, barring the creation of a product, whether it be, a makeup line or a book, that you might want to write, or even yourself, like I mentioned, why does your brand exist? You have to define that identity. So often brands are difficult to differentiate from the outside. So this is a list of a lot of big healthcare brands, or companies rather, and on the right of it, nice logos, you can see a trend there. On the right of it is their mission statement. Life to the fullest. Signs for a better life. Inventing for life. Life is our life's work. That last one. If you didn't know it, if I hadn't told you that any of these were healthcare companies, would you know what they do? Do something with life. Exactly. But they're undifferentiated, and they're very large companies that sell globally. Not standing out is the same as being invisible. So Seth Godin, who's a marketing expert, has a number of books. You can read them, really short books. So you really get, if you really want to cram on your marketing know-how, he's definitely a good author to subscribe to. One of his first books was called The Purple Cow. And it's been a number of years, probably about 10 or more years, and to this day, it's still a book that a lot of entrepreneurs pick up to really understand marketing. And it's simple. If you were driving past, and this is mostly for the US, but here maybe donkeys, purple donkey, purple iguana. If you were, driving past and you saw, an animal, a few animals, and they all looked, in this case, cows, black and white, black and white, black and white, undifferentiated. But you saw a purple one, it would make you stop, right? You'd want to know, how was it dyed? Was it born like that? How did it get like that? It will strike you because there's an identity, visually in this case, but it'll pull you in to try and understand more. And in the past 20 years, with the proliferation of brands and marketing and a lot of messaging, you have to look at your identity and say, what is going to differentiate me in the market? Again, barring the products, you can have a wonderful product. If you don't have a brand that's attached to it that engages people, they might either never use it or they might never really understand, make a connection to it. So you have to have that identity. And how do you do that? Start internally. Be unique by tapping into your personality and experience. There are makeup lines, there are a ton of makeup lines, there are a ton of everything. Nothing's really new, right? There are a lot of hotels, so you're not really going to change the product. There are a lot of industries that are already taking it. What makes it different is what you as an individual or a group of individuals, or the multiple entrepreneurs, bring to it. What is that personality? What is that experience? Where did you grow up? What does growing up in Bonaire give you as far as a perspective on hotels? What's important, what's not important? All that's very valuable to now start creating identity and differentiating yourself. So I encourage you to tap into that. So I'll give you one example, personal example. Many years ago, about 10, 15, I came out of school. I was in design school in the US, came out of school and I wanted to find something to do. You know, I had a job, you know, kind of. I came out of design school, so I was working for a printer. So we were printing, I don't know if you guys have, FedEx, bought a company called Keynote, and that's where they get the copying and all that kind of stuff. So I was working there, and you know, as any young person would want to do, they would want to say, I said, oh, I love working here, I like this thing, but I really want to put my own stamp, I want to do something else other than just making copies and designing business cards. So what I did, and this was not thought through at all, was I said, okay, how can I differentiate myself? A lot of people have things that they can do, they design different things. One of the things that I saw that I started liking, I think this was about 2003 or so, saw a lot of t-shirts, you know, graphic t-shirts with different things on it. And in New York City at that time, it was really popular to have graphic t-shirts that represent a specific culture, right, or a specific person. So, you know, kind of people from Latin America would have, you know, different figures, like emblems, those kinds of things. So it's a huge thing about identity. And of course, as a young person in New York City, you want to be cool. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to wear that as well. The gap for me, though, was I was born in Ghana, West Africa, and I lived in the U.S. And I was like, okay, I have a U.S. identity, so I guess I could do that. But it didn't feel authentic to me, right? And then I said, okay, well, this has to be. I mean, a Ghanaian, you know, similar style, Ghanaian clothing line that could buy, you know, maybe just one shirt. So search high and low, could not find anything. And so what did I say? I said, okay, well, I'll just create one for myself and wear it to a party. I'm sure it's to impress someone. So I went to a party, people asked me about it, and you know, through that I said, okay, I'll sell you one. And you know, being of an entrepreneurial mindset, I said, okay, I'll sell you one, you know, that kind of, and it started picking up from there. So then I, obviously, going on over time, I noticed that, okay, well, this might be something that would be fun to do. You know, just have print some t-shirts, have a couple of my friends wear it around, those kinds of things. So taking a couple of months, going through a few different products, I said, okay, well, let me go and try and sell it somewhere. Went to sell it at local places, got feedback. Key to getting the product out there in the world is definitely, even if you think it's not the way it needs to be, you have to get it in front of people. Because people will tell you what they want. You can, unless you want to do it for yourself, it's fine. You can do that as well. But so on the left there, you see, I started going to different conventions and different gatherings in New York City. Set up a little table, say, hey, you know, here's my thing, call my number, those kinds of things. So you know, so I tapped my identity. Of course, I can articulate that now, but I tapped what I knew and what my experience was, my personality experience was, to create these shirts. Became pretty popular in New York City. Was doing a bit of guerrilla marketing, kind of going to different streets, opening up a table, those kinds of things, and getting feedback and selling them. And then ultimately, within about a year and a half, I started realizing that certain kind of people were buying it, and there were people who were traveling a lot. So they'd come to New York City for a vacation, they'd buy it, they'd go somewhere else, and would like it, and I had a website initially as well. So go to the website just through word of mouth, and they started doing it. So it reinforced me as well as a designer, as an entrepreneur, because I realized that people actually liked it from the visuals for sure, but there were other people like me who wanted this kind of product, right? And that was key, getting it out there. You have a thought about an identity, or something, experience that you want to bring to the market, and you put it out there and you realize who's gravitating to it. So got a lot of press. In some cases it was successful. I realized that designing, especially clothing, is not really my thing. It is really more about communication. So again, looking at my personality and my experience, what am I best at and why was this successful, I kind of took that, and that's what I'm doing now, kind of helping other companies do that. But the lesson here is that it is about the personality and experience. Sometimes we take our experience for granted, you know, where you grew up, how you grew up, things that was some hurdles that you might have gone through. All of those make you unique. So try and channel that into your product, and that will be your identity. That will then become part of your brand. So 3 traits. You have to be bold. These days, there are more than enough products. If It is highly unlikely you're going to create a new category. So you have to know who you are, you have to have your personality and be bold about it. You have to bring it to the forefront. And initially, it's going to be jarring to people who are not used to that, but you will find your community. We'll talk about it in a minute. You have to live your truth, and then you have to be selective. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So your story is the next part. So now you have your identity, you've written it down, what makes me unique. So now how do you talk about it? What is your story? A great brand makes people better and happier than they are today. And kind of going back to the idea that you could have a wonderful product, but if your customer is not better off after they've engaged with your product than they were before, then you haven't done your job. Or maybe you're not talking to the right person. Your product's not with the right person. So your brand has to exist there. And that's how we talk about Telecurusal and Celair, right? It's not necessarily about the plane. I mean, I don't know too many people know the mechanics of the plane and all this, but what we know is that we showed up, something happened, it seems like it was bad. And then, at the end of the day, we were not happier, so now we have to reflect on our brand. So you have to tell that story, you have to be part of that narrative that people have in their minds. Focus on people on a personal level. So don't look at people as kind of groups. I want to talk about it. You have to define who you're talking to the nth degree. Women in Bonaire who live here, who drive X, Y, and Z. That is the key. You have to be able to talk to that person specifically. Because there are unique experiences that person is going through that make them gravitate to your product. So you have to be familiar with that. At least have a hypothesis that you can test, and someone will say, no, that's not me, and they can go back and say, okay, well, that personality-wise is not the kind of person that is my product. And you tell a relatable story. So again, if you know who your customer is and you tapping your own experience, you have to be relatable. We saw a list of brands earlier that life's work. Is it relatable? I mean, you may have great products, but you don't feel like it's something that you want to raise your hand and run towards. You might end up there, but it'll take a while. So I'll give you an example. About 8 years ago now, 9 years ago, so it's 2009. Because of my clothing line, and I kind of gravitated into kind of online, just kind of communications and marketing and writing a lot, just to get my ideas out there. Puma was doing, 2010 was going to be the first World Cup in Africa, right, South Africa specifically. And Puma, if you don't know, kind of like the World Cup, football fans primarily here, baseball as well. Puma had been supporting African teams. That was kind of their customer. That was who they were relating to up to that point. Many years prior to this. So this was a time for them where they could really, recognize that oh goodness, we've been supporting African teams, underdogs, and now the World Cup is going to be in South Africa. This is our time to shine. The problem though is that they didn't really have a budget. You have Nike, you have Adidas, who have way too much budget. They can overspend Puma any day. And of course, they have contracts, right? So what does Puma do? They get online, they have the agency, they're kind of reaching out, doing their research, and they connected with me through my writing. So sat with them, over a course of 6 or so months in 2009, we started going through that. What is relatable? What is that story that you want to tell? Okay, great, you're Puma, you make sneakers. Sure, that's the product, great. But how do you tell that story? How do you make it relatable to the people who you've been supporting all this time, but then also you want them to obviously support you as well? So what we did was come up with this campaign, which was Love Equals Football. Did a lot of research into kind of how do Africans see football? What is their relationship with football? Obviously they love football, but what about it attracts them? So the campaign was really focused on less of the Puma sneakers. So you see the branding here, on the bottom. So that's kind of goes without saying. But the visuals really reflect the African experience. If you've been to Ghana, if you've been to Kenya, been to South Africa, you understand, the dirt that you're playing in, the trotro in the back, the bus, running through. So if you've grown up in that that climate or in that environment, these things are recognizable to you. It's very relatable, right? And obviously, they use Puma, X, Y, and Z. So we worked through it, and we came up with a campaign. It was a viral campaign, and I'll show you a clip of what it was. Sound working, but you can see the visuals, right? One of the key things here in creating this this advert was that it captured the rawness, right? So even in how they shot it was really in, from a point of view of some spectator, right? So the camera's moving, it's not too clean, it's very jarring, those kinds of things. So it really is about creating that story, being relatable, channeling how people, African kids and grown-ups really saw football. And it kind of goes on and on. But, and it was really successful because they had a limited budget, but they ended up outshining Nike and Adidas because of their relatability. It was a viral campaign. They did not have the budget, but because they didn't have the budget, they became innovative. They tried to become creative. So this was released online. This is 2010, so not too much, kind of early days as far as online marketing and online video. So they took a gamble there, looked at where they are, who their customers were, and then they made sure that this product was able to get to them. Again, understanding where your customers are, how they're accessing content. A lot of those customers weren't really looking at the big channels for inspiration. So, key tips. 3 traits of a good brand story. Again, this could apply to you as a personal, from a personal perspective, so that you're trying to get your name out there. Emotional connection. Tell a story, like be human, right? We sometimes we overthink what we're trying to do and who we're talking to. Just write it out in plain English. It could be or not, or probably not, Just be as simple as possible, and make sure that you are you're connecting to a specific community. So who are those people? How are they thinking? Who are you trying to reach? Speak in their language as you would want to be spoken to because you're one of those people. And start building trust. So your style and approach. When I was initially talking to the organizer for Global Entrepreneur Week, we were talking really about technology, right? So branding and technology. And I've had those conversations a number of times about technology, and what I found is that a lot of times when you mention technology to people, they think the hardware, right? So my phone, whatever, the television, Facebook, and those kinds of things. So I initially had this called, technology. But it's less about what you're using and more about how you're using it. So I renamed this, your style and approach. Again, it has to be personal. So how's your brand different? The key value of technology is that it allows you to deliver, as Puma did, your brand, your message, your products to people very easily. So you have to understand, it really is about delivering your identity and your story. Obviously, technology has changed everything in business. So a few examples here of companies that are within a particular, that have disrupted specific sectors. Alibaba is the world's biggest retailer, does not own any goods. Does everybody know what Alibaba is? Okay. So it's a platform, it's an online platform primarily based in China, though it has expanded globally, that pretty much is e-commerce. So it facilitates people who want to sell things, initially Chinese companies, and then those who want to buy globally. Uber, so Uber is a company that is currently the world's biggest taxi firm, but it actually doesn't own anything, right? And that's because of technology. It connects people from where they are right now to where they want to be. Airbnb, same thing. hotel industry has a specific way that it works. Airbnb comes in using technology because it lowers the barriers, and they say, okay, well, do I really need to rent out a place and build it? Maybe not. You know, that might be just it might just be about connecting people to somewhere to live, somewhere to stay, and that's how they build their business. And then finally, Facebook, which everyone knows, is at this point even beyond a media company. You know, it's really a communication tool, but it doesn't really own any telephone lines. It doesn't really create media, though they're starting. But that's what technology has changed as it relates to business. And technology has changed our everyday life. I'm sure we don't have to go too far into that. So what happens? Technology, that's great. We have access, all these kinds of things. So many choices could be good. Limited time and attention. How many times have you had to communicate or do something and you were torn between, should I watch this now, should I go on Facebook, should I, and kind of felt in the back of your mind that anxiety around, there's so many different things to do. This really captures it, right? In 60 seconds, this is what's happening. So as I'm talking, over the next hour, 1.8 million snaps were created in Snapchat, 15,000 gifts sent by Facebook Messenger, 990,000 swipes in Tinder, which I don't know if everyone knows is a kind of dating app that is pretty popular in the US, where you kind of just open it and you see somebody's face and you swipe one way or another for yes and swipe the other way for no. Obviously, I'm not going to see it too much. So that's happening. So all this is happening in 60 seconds. How does it relate to your brand? Everyone is getting overwhelmed. You would think that, so we have to use technology, so I want to do everything like all the big guys do. But we can't all be Amazon. Amazon does all these different things. Most of us know them as e-commerce, where you buy things and used to be, I guess, get it shipped directly to Bonaire, but I think now you have to go through a different way of getting it. But they own a lot of different things. And the reason why Amazon, in different sectors, the reason why Amazon is successful is because they don't focus on the technology. They focus on the customer. What do people want? Amazon is successful because it lowers the barrier for buying. All the different things you might read in the news about Amazon created the Echo, and they're doing this and they're doing that. If you look at the underlying thing, they know who their customer is, and they know that that customer is hard for them to buy something. So they spend all their time focusing on, okay, how can I make it easier for people to buy? But we all can't spread our wings that far. Technology isn't just the hardware and software you use, it's about lowering the barriers. As an entrepreneur, or someone who's getting into entrepreneurship, you should be looking at technology as an enabler, not just something that you spend time on the side on. You know, technology allows you to, pretty quickly, create a website, reach people, market your product, get feedback for your product, do all those things. It really lowers the barriers for everyone. And that's a big advantage from the large companies, because they're used to doing things a certain way. So as an entrepreneur, as you're building your company, you're trying to get customers, the way you use technology, the style and approach that you use that will be your differentiator. It's how you access resources and reach people. And the key there is accessing resources. So we're used to consuming, going on Facebook, just kind of talking to our friends, everything. But as an entrepreneur, look at it with a different lens. If you're on there and you're communicating in a certain way and you're buying things a certain way, as an entrepreneur, how do you now start getting in there? How do you use Facebook ads to find people who are interested in similar things? How do you also start an Instagram page about your product and capture the behind the scenes, make it more relatable? And it's about reaching those people. So Bonaire is a fairly small island, and landmass wise and number of people wise, there's not too much that you could work with, barring specifically for those who live within Bonaire. But does that mean that you shouldn't create a product? Does that mean that you shouldn't create a product that speaks to certain people? No. Technology allows you to create a product and go reach further. Find that customer wherever they are, and they could be in transit. It could be somebody from Bonaire that's traveling travel, that wants to come back or something like that, you can go online and find them, and that's what technology allows you to do. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we might think that we want the most people. I want, everybody that, that would ever buy makeup. You don't. You do not, because for the entrepreneurs, I'm sure you can tell, it's more of a headache than it is, to just focus on specific small groups of people. And you know what? On the image on the right hand here, what it illustrates is that in the past, everyone competed here, right? So there were hotels, all the different industries, everybody was competing for the same customers all the time. And you had to have a lot of money to even get in the game, or resources. But what technology has done is technology allows this, but there's also the long tail. And what that means is that there are a lot of people who have nuances. They want makeup, but only black makeup. They want sneakers, but only sneakers that tie themselves. Whatever the nuance is that you think is so obscure, technology allows you to find those people wherever they are, and then start having a conversation with them and bringing your brand to them. So think of it that way. You don't have to compete here. So you don't have to have it all figured out and compete with Marriott or Nike or anyone. You can take the same model, McDonald's food, and say, well, people go to McDonald's and they have fast food, but maybe it needs to be something funky, right? And you would initially think, oh no, nobody buys funky. Nobody buys funky maybe in your neighborhood, but if you take that same thought and apply the technology lens to it, to amplify it and find people wherever they are, your market becomes really big. So, as was mentioned earlier, I organize a yearly innovation festival once a year. It's all day. We start up with 8,000 people. This year was 10,000. And it's really focused on entrepreneurs like yourself who are coming to really get inspiration. But then even more importantly, what we do is that we try to bring people who are on the higher end, people who have the experience to come and start having those conversations. So as a content director, part of my role is to diversify the ideas that are being presented, right? So you don't just want always somebody from Facebook to come talk about how big Facebook is. You don't want somebody from all these big companies, IBM, to just come and talk about things. For 2017, kind of what I usually do is kind of go through the news and try and see who's really causing people to talk. And I came across this company called Things. And yes, that's exactly what they sell. Menstrual underwear. I don't use it, so. But what's interesting is that not the products, it's interesting products, and the product is good, I still can't use it. But it's really in how they use technology to disrupt the way how they got to their customers and compete in a market that is oversaturated. You can get underwear, this commodity for, anywhere. So how do they compete, even if they have a optimal product? So one of the founders, Antonia St. Dunbar, so we had her come to kind of talk through, like, how do you compete? They started in 2014. By 2015, they had 23 times revenue, right? So they've grown 23 times. By 2016, they were making millions. So that's 2 years, under 2 years. So how do you compete in a industry that's a commodity for something so specific and still make millions of dollars? And how they did it was obviously having a product, but you see on the bottom left there, they lowered the barriers with technology. So they had a website, all the standard things. They lowered the barriers. So try them risk-free, and it's simplified. Usually, a company will kind of write a whole bunch of, copy, you should do this, and you make it really complicated. And we could, again, as entrepreneurs, you could overthink what needs to happen, right? But for them, you can tell exactly how to get the products. They're not distributed in stores, so initially that's a barrier, but again, leveraging technology, that became an advantage, but as developed creatively. So they went direct to the customer. Get it easily, risk-free, you can try it, if you don't like it, keep it obviously. And you got no commitment there. So that's reaching the customer, lowering the barriers. What did they do again? As a young company that's thinking creatively, they brought in their customers. So from the beginning, they said, use this hashtag, tell us what you think. Now, again, I work with some of the clients I work with are very big companies, and this is the hardest conversation to have with large organizations. I'm sure some of you work with large organizations. That people, say unhinged how they feel about your brand. Not happy, right? It has to go through a certain group. It has to be vetted. It has, and that's the barrier for large organizations. But as entrepreneurs, that's an advantage, right? So you could reach directly to your customer, give them a hashtag, let them own it, right? Become part of that, become part of the community, because then they become part of your brand, and they now become speaking voices for you. So they're taking your brand wherever you can't go. So one of the advantages here too is that they encourage people to send images of them in the underwear. There's a specific look, as you can see, so it's not just in a utility perspective, but let's change the view of how people think of these kind of products. Are you guys familiar with Kickstarter? Kickstarter? Okay. So I'll for those who are uninitiated, I'll explain. So again, Kickstarter is a website, ultimately, that allows entrepreneurs, people with ideas, to upload a one-pager about what their product is and ask people to invest in their product. One of the biggest hurdles that I see, I live in San Francisco, so Silicon Valley, a lot of people have products and they want to kind of get funding and those kind of things. That's great. You should get customers first, but that's a separate conversation. But sometimes you feel like you need the money to move to the next level. And a lot of people write 10, 15 page business plans. They spend a lot of time thinking through all kinds of things on paper, and then they go and try and present it to someone to give them money to now start going create a product and then do whatever else. But that's risky for investors, and that's a lot of work. So Kickstarter is a website that's really popular where you can go up and put it up yourself. This is a product I want to do. You put a video, this is a product I want to create. This is why if you, as a regular person who has $5, somebody who has $10, you put your different tiers, people can invest in it. You can actually get funding, initial funding, and sometimes there's some companies that have $10,000 leveled, and you can actually get funding that way. Again, using technology and using your resources. So that's what they did. And this is a clip from when she was at Propellify. Yes. Computers can fail you too. Okay, really quick. See if I can get the audio to work here. Not so much. Okay, so basically what she's saying is that when they first started their product, they had good products, at least they thought it was, and they needed, to spread the word. They needed sales so that they could sustain it, because it was pretty, from a technology, from a product perspective, it was pretty complex it's actually a pretty innovative product. So what they did was they went on Kickstarter, and they put it up there, and they said, if you buy into this product on this level, I'm going to, you're going to get X, Y, and Z. And it became so popular that first, when I mentioned that first year when they grew to 23 times, it was all on Kickstarter, right? So they put a product up there, some idea, they got feedback, and they kept moving. So 3 traits that you can take with you right now. You have to be accessible. If you have a good product and people can't reach you and they don't know where to find you and it's so complex, it's not going to work. You have to be shareable. How many people use Instagram? Facebook? Snapchat? Okay. Yeah, exactly. And the reason why you use it and YouTube is because you see content, so people in your network, share with you, and then you also share with them. So if your product was something that really resonated with people and it was easy for them to share, that increases the reach of that as well. And you have to be ownable, and this is the key differentiator here. You can't expect people to engage with your product and your brand, share it, but only in this context. Only share it with these kind of people in this whatever, and da. It doesn't work that way. The way technology is these days, and the way how we all are expecting to use technology and use brands, is that we want to own it. You want to customize stuff. And so your brand has to allow that as well. So in conclusion, you have to have a bold identity. You have to have a relatable story, and you have to have accessible style. That's the only way that your brand will exist and thrive beyond just the initial interaction with your customer. And that's how you build a brand in the digital age. Very simple. So, Danke. So I know it's a lot of information. I'll reach out to me. I'll share these slides with whoever wants it. But I also created a one-sheeter, which goes a little bit kind of the next level, more in depth about kind of a checklist on different things that you can do. As I talked about, how do you create your personality? How do you do certain things? So I created that, and nobody has access to it. So part of my gift to you is you can go and download it for free. And hopefully that'll help you take what you have, what you've learned here, what you've heard here, and take it and make it more practical. Again, that's all my contact information. Feel free to reach out. We can talk right now as well. I'm definitely here to hear what you're saying and help as much as possible. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Annan?
What does Annan see in your brand logo?
Yes. So it's a combination of my last name, Annan, A-N-N-A-N, but then also in my Ghanaian culture, but I think there's some parallels in some Caribbean cultures as well. There's folklore about, that you tell a lot of little kids about the spider, right? A Nancy spider, right? So do you guys have a similar? Exactly. So, yeah, so it's my last name, and what made me gravitate to that, besides having heard it as a child, was also the idea that a spider makes a home wherever, right? I travel a lot, and wherever I go, I try to kind of make a home and connect with the right people and everything. So, a little bit, I had a lot of free time. But yeah, so ultimately that's what it is. Any other questions? Can be as random as possible. Okay.
Would you mind repeating the last sentence that you had on your presentation? The last slide.
Oh, okay. These ones?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so a bold identity, so owning who you are, so what makes you unique, right? Owning your experience, so and you have to both own it and present it as such. Especially with the young people, sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't want to disrupt because everybody else is doing certain things, but really the value that you have for anybody, and especially with your group, is to be the one to speak up and to be the one to stand out. It's hard, but you'll realize that growing up, that's the biggest advantage that you can have, because you're confident in who you are, and it comes through in your product. And then finally, accessible style. Just be accessible and do it with style. Make sure you're using technology to connect with people.
No more questions?
When you're evaluating the possibility for a business, should you evaluate the product for your market, or should you evaluate the market for your product?
Classic question. It's a balance, right? So initially, you do have to have a hypothesis, right? People are going to like, in my case, t-shirts with African figures on it, right? And you do have to create a product that you would want to see in the market, right? So that at least gives you the confidence to move through the rejection that you're going to get as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs, you know that, right? People reject you. So that gets a product, gets you to create a product that you can put out there. But ultimately, the market will define, the success of it. It's a tricky thing because you do have to be talking to the right people. So again, having some kind of understanding of your identity and having the story that you're going to tell, you can say, okay, do they not like the product because the product is bad, or do they just not the people that I need to talk to? And a lot of times that is the case, they just not the customer. Can't take it personally, they're just not the person you need to talk to. So you can go back online, connect with other people, and try and find those people. Any other questions? Back. Thank you.
No more questions?
I have a question. We're on a small island. We have like tips or things that we can do. And a lot of times you hear people say, oh, we're in one air and it's small, so we can't do it better. So is there something that we can do about that mindset?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a problem. It's definitely not just that, right? A lot of, even in the States, you find people who say, well, nobody in my neighborhood would buy this. That is probably true. Sometimes it's true. But as I mentioned earlier with the finding, who your community is, you have to reach further. We have the cell phones over there, we have these computers in our hand that at any moment, even right now, a lot of you are making connections that you would never have been able to do 5 years ago, right? And you're getting, if you're jumping on a website, you're gonna get an answer right away. So we're used to that as consumers, right? You ask a question, you get it delivered, X, Y, and Z. So you have to take that same thinking and say, okay, so that's great, that works for me. So now how can I use that to benefit what I'm trying to do? And environments matters, but then really it's about expanding beyond that. You might have, sometimes it is good to open a storefront. And even then, you open a storefront that's selling something, the cruise ships come in, you have high season, you have low season, maybe you add a hashtag to it. Coming by from here, when you go wherever you came from, to Netherlands or wherever, send me an email, use a hashtag, send me a picture of you wearing what you just bought. Right? So now, encourages the customer to now share with people wherever they are, outside of on air, and that initial interaction, and now they're probably going to bring more customers to you. Or maybe you can make a connection with people, the cruise ships that bring the people in and say, okay, if you bring some, I know they come at this certain time, so I'm going to buy some Facebook ads for people who are looking for tickets to come to on air, right? So you have to think creatively, you have to think and try a lot of things. Not everything's going to work, but the more you try it as an entrepreneur, you have to get your product out there. Can't say that enough. You have a thought about what's going to happen. Once you get it out there, you might realize that there's a lot more people who gravitate to that product, and it's not as regional as it is. So it is a mindset that you have to change, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Okay, come find me afterwards.
No more questions? No more questions? Once, twice? Thank you very, 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 very